Okay, so if you know me, you know that I love anything journaling. So of course I'm gonna have my own line of cute notebooks, and they're just like line notebooks. You can use them for like brainstorming, forgiveness journal, gratitude journal is always a good one to have. But yeah, if you like journals, I mean, I do journaling for my mental health journey, and I just have a notebook for everything. And I just like it is simple, soft cover. You can find butterflies, sloths, and just a cute design. You can find them at lifewithfrancy.com/shop. Hello and welcome to Life with Francie podcast, a place where you will find all kinds of conversation like mental health, self-love, self-care, trauma, hobbies, and more. With this podcast, I want to create a place where we support one another in business and personal life. Hope you enjoy this episode. Now, let's get the show started. Today's episode was thanks to Podmatch, an amazing community for podcast hosts and podcast guests to do amazing collaborations like this one. They offer tools and resources for anybody in the podcasting world. So if that's a place that you want to be, you can check it out in the description of the episode. And on today's episode, I have the pleasure to talk to Lolita, a four-time number one bestseller Amazon author, stress management coach, and a dynamic speaker. Through her journey, Lolita discovered powerful drug-free stress managing strategies, emphasizing the importance of healing childhood trauma. And as the founder of Be Amazing You, she dedicating to reducing burnout and boosting energy. Heck yeah, girl. Let's get to know you. Welcome to the show. Tell us, what is life with you?
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to this podcast. And I think especially today we can just turn on the news or talk with someone and think, oh my gosh, life is so super stressful. But they say stress management shouldn't be stressful, and there is always many ways that we can do how to manage our energy and make sure that we're not all burn out at the end of the day.
Hmm, that's a hard one. So I can't wait to start this conversation. But yeah, tell us a little bit about your story.
Probably you already can guess from my accent that I'm not from Houston. I came from Lithuania 24, my goodness, 24 years ago now. Whew, time flies by fast. And I came here for my American dream, and I worked for a company, and I worked, and worked. It feels to me like 50, 60 hours a week, and I'm sure lots of your listeners can relate. It's, like if you want to have more money, you need to have more responsibility, hence more work, and I was a people pleaser. I want to make sure that I prove to myself and others in my family that I can achieve what I want. Um, so I really didn't even have time for uh, proper nutrition or go exercise. My only exercise was to go to the ladies' room during the day. That was my only exercise. And so obviously I end up burnout, and also it impacted so much on my physical body, and I got just so stressed out. Even in my I was in my 30s, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm not supposed to be sick. But yeah, after a trip to emergency room and being told that, okay, this is like anxiety and stress and burnout and all of this. And of course it's so popular these days, and I mean for 20 years now probably, or even more. Oh, you just take a pill, you'll be fine. And I'm like, I don't want to take any pills, and not like I'm depressed or something. I'm just go, 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 and I'm just depleted. I'm burnout and impacted my body physically. So when I invested in the natural ways and the staples of stress management, everyone can tell you, well, you just need to meditate, and you need to drink water, and make sure you get your 7 hours of sleep, and do breathing exercise. And I realized like a lot of things make sense, but it was lots of things I implemented, like time management, telling no to people, this. But let's imagine you're having a serious conversation with someone, right? Like something happened and it triggers you, and you have this anxiety. You're not going to tell the other person, you know what, I'm stressed out now, so I'm going to run out to my yoga for 15 minutes and I'll be right back. Like,
I
you're not
wish it
going to do
worked
that.
that way. I wish you could do that.
So it's like, then I realized, I'm like, there's some things missing in the whole thing that I'm thinking about what the stress management should look like. And as we know, the nature also stressing. When you look you walk on the path, you see the grass growing through concrete. I bet it was not an easy journey for the grass to grow, but apparently the stress is still in our environment and it's okay. And we can talk a whole hour about how good stress is or how bad stress is for you. We're not going to talk about it because we already know that's bad. What really made a huge difference in my life is when I became a stress management coach, I was investing in the books about how to do business and all that. And in one of the books, the author said that impacted her life a lot because she grew up with a father alcoholic. And then I was like, oh, I had no idea it's a thing. Because you see, I grew up with a father alcoholic as well. So this new concept for me was introduced of adult children of alcoholics or like of addicts or emotionally available parents. Basically the childhood trauma I had no idea I have. I was like, whoa, this is just blew my mind. So then I realized, here is the deal: you can have two people in the same room and something stressful will happen, right? Two of them will react very different way depending on how they learn to manage the stress in their life, what childhood they came from. uh, did they have a emotionally stable parents? Will they just start being so frantic and running around saying, oh my god, oh my god? Or they will be like, oh, okay, that's okay, we can handle this. So that's what the real stress management really comes from. And it is very important to realize that your previous life impacted you, but not from the point of saying, oh my gosh, I'm broken now, this is it for me.
Mhm.
But no, like understanding what are I say, let's imagine you come to life with a bag of dominoes, right? So some of us have given two, some of them have five, and you play the game. But then you think, oh my gosh, I had only two pieces, the other person has five, I'm already losing it. No, the point is to realize that yes, even if you have two of them in your hands, there's a huge box behind you. You can come and get it. And this is how I look at life in general and in stress management as well. When you know where it came from, then you know where you're going.
Oh, yep. Yes, you do. And what are some tips for stress management?
So if say, well, a lot of clients that I have, and I coach overachievers, as I say, or
Yeah.
workaholics, you know, and a lot of clients come to me and they say, oh my gosh, I'm burnout, I just cannot do this anymore, I run. And the first thing I tell them, I said, okay, just do something very simple. Just every hour, put your alarm on your phone, and we all have phones these days. Just tell yourself, I'm gonna stop whatever I'm doing, and I'm just going to close my eyes and just breathe and just be and feel my body. Just mindfulness minute, 1 minute every hour, or maybe 2 hours. And so your listeners can tell themselves to do the same. Just, okay, I'm going to put an alarm and I'm going to relax for that 1 minute. Now, a lot of who's listening to this can be very easily triggered because listen to your thoughts. What your feelings come up? Do you think like, oh my gosh, no, the whole minute, I don't have time for this? Seriously, you don't have time for this? When we look how much time we spend on social media, just scrolling through posts and looking at something, you can stop and just breathe in, breathe out for 1 minute. You can do that. But also, how is that childhood trauma comes into play? There's this guilt of thinking, oh no, I'm supposed to be working. I'm not supposed to be taking, I'm on 1 minute out of my hour. What is there's a guilt coming from? Because if you feel guilty of taking care of yourself, and for you, word self love comes to you as, oh, it's just being selfish. How dare you to be selfish? Then that's a key to unlocking really your stress management because you need to realize that probably why you're so harsh on yourself, why you did not follow through with your own promises, why if you start a project you drop it in the middle, why diets don't work. And it is because you were conditioned that you're not good enough, or maybe you don't feel enough that who you are, or you don't even allow yourself to be who you are. You don't even allow yourself to feel. Lots of clients then come to me, I tell them, do one thing at least one thing a day that makes your heart sing. That's another tip. Just do something, even for 15 minutes. Let's say you like reading, just read a book every day. And I know, there's lots of pushback. It's
Yeah.
like, I have 3 kids, I have run a business, I don't have time for this. It works on multiple levels. You don't have to read the whole chapter. You can read one page, and you can tell yourself, I'm going to read this one page a day. Because what happens is when you give yourself that space, you tell yourself and your nervous system, I am here for you. I'm going to do something that I love. So your brains, of course, immediately relaxes because you're doing something you love, right? That's what they say,
Mm-hmm.
follow your bliss. So when there is this saying, follow your bliss and be in the flow, it's not necessarily that you, oh, I feel a painter in my heart, so now I'm gonna drop my full-time job and I'm gonna just endure myself in this journey and God knows where I'm gonna end. It can't be like that big, but it can be just doing something that you love that day. Maybe you like a cup of coffee. Enjoy that cup of coffee. Because when you give yourself permission to be in that moment for yourself, you honoring yourself. And many times what childhood trauma comes from, and okay, now probably a lot of you are listening and like, I grew up in a very happy environment. You probably were, but everybody has small or big traumas depending what the childhood was. But
Mm-hmm.
remember, we're already starting with a huge trauma, like being a human being and being alive, just the to be born. It's super stressful. What is stress? Stress is when you get out of a normal environment. Our brain loves comfortable. That's why when we grow up in a painful environment, for us, pain equals love. And we're like, okay, it's painful, but that's okay. I'm going to still keep the same job. I'm going to still keep the same toxic relationship because that's your normal. So when you understand that there were things that were not given to you when you were a child, and again, here's a disclaimer: every parent loves the kid. Okay,
Oh
I don't
yeah.
think there is a parent who wakes up in the morning and says, you know what, I'm gonna do this, is gonna be fun, I'm gonna hurt my kids. That does not happen. The parents are also kids that come, being a kids from their parents. So if you feel like you are overlooked or you are feeling not enough or you just have a low self-worth, you're going to be super hard on yourself as well because other people were hard on yourself. And I love the when I listened to the book by Dr. Gabor Mate or Mate, whatever, I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Mm-hmm.
He says if you grow up in an environment where you didn't feel loved and appreciated and seen, you, because of your survival instinct, you will become useful. This means you're going to become a workaholic. You're going to become an overachiever because you want to show your worth to the group. And we are mammals. We need to be in the group. That's how we regulate our mental states and everything. I mean, we will die if we'll be alone. We need other people. So here's all that people pleasing come. Um, and we totally abandon ourselves. So it's kind of sad to think about it. It's like I will kill myself in order to survive. So you seek for that approval. So here's another tip. Um, uh, just make a list of people in your life, and then next to their name, just give them a letter, and let's say, or a number, or whatever. Basically, what you're doing, you are really looking into those relationships and seeing where's that your energy going. Are they demanding? Do they always, you have to always be for them, but they're never there for you? You know, do you feel tired after, or they always complaining?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Basically, are those good people that to be around? If they are not those people, then stop seeing them, stop talking to them. And I know probably it's gonna
It's a
be immediately,
hard one because I have
yeah, I
that
know.
conversation with my friends. For me, it's a little bit easier. It's hard, but it's still a little bit easier because I left Puerto Rico when I was 15. So I left three families, my friends, my school, everything that I knew, my language, because I was speaking Spanish over there to come to the United States and speak English. So it's just a little bit easier in that way, that but it's trauma also because you shouldn't
Oh
be able
yes.
to shut down people as easy, but it's that self-awareness of what kind of energy you want to bring in the room as well as the people that are around you.
And you just can limit that. If you look, for example, you have a mother or sister or something, that's your family. It's not that you can tell them, I'm sorry, I'm not going to talk to you anymore, bye. But you can, um, if you, let's say you talk for an hour, and I have clients who they say, oh, my mom calls me every day and I have to talk to her for 2 hours. I'm like, why? Why don't, why don't, why don't you try
I
some
love my
things?
mommy.
So it's great that you have good relationship. So that's the person that you gain something, right? Like
Hmm.
you have the synergy, it's a give and take, and it's a healthy relationship. Those, when you look through that list of people that you make, and you see, you identify that there are people who uplift you, who love you, who are there for you, spend more time with them. And those people who are really just sucking the energy out, do as minimum. And how you can say, for example, you start a conversation, so some, let's say a friend calls you, and you feel, like, okay, you feel like I really need to pick up the phone, I need to message back. You start the conversation with them saying, just want to let you know, have another call in 15 minutes, so I will need to go, or like, I'm in traffic, I'll get home, or whatever, something. So you're already telling them the expectation that this conversation is going to be short. So they will not get offended, because you're not going to just cut them short and say, okay, gotta go. Then it's like, okay, you hurt their feelings, and you don't want to do that. So give the expectation ahead of a time in the conversation and say, this is going to be a short conversation. So they know it. And then you listen. And at the end of it, they still feel like they got what they needed. But
Hmm.
then you also preserve your time and your energy.
Yeah. No, I love my mommy, but I do have to set boundaries with her sometimes. And now we have the joke of like sometimes she calls and I'm like, okay, mom, I'm alive. I love you. Bye. It sounds mean, but it's just like I understand where she's coming from because I'm an only child. So
Oh,
of
me too.
course
Oh, I know
I
all about
am
that.
her world. And I say like she's almost perfect, but that almost is in caps. And like I get it, but it's just like, okay, mom, I want to hear you too. But sometimes I'm busy, and sometimes like I'm working 6 days a week right now in this season that I'm doing the podcast interview. So it's really hard that I have to reserve my energy because during the week I'm working my job, my corporate job, and then on my days off I'm doing 3 to 6 interviews. So I have to keep my energy level up, so but we still have to talk to each other every day. But once again, it's that self-awareness. And what are some roles for anxiety reliefs playing to have in a work environment?
First one, we already acknowledge that probably will be reacting to stressful situations very differently than other people in our environment, like coworkers, for example, because let's say about the work environment. Um, I I have this four pillars that I think are very important for the stress management, and I call it calm. You know that saying, it says keep calm and carry on. Yeah, so the calm for me stands for C, is controlling. You control what you can control.
Mhm.
Because if you're starting feeling or that you're responsible for how other people feel, how they are going to act, we can't control others, but we can control ourselves. So you control your attitude, you control your energy level, you control how much time you're going to spend on something. Also, you control not only how you feel, but you also control how you're going to react to other situations. So always, if there's always have, I call it stress management toolbox. I always recommend to do few things. If let's say something happens to you right away, something happens and you're like, oh my gosh, it triggered you. Um, Breathe in, breathe out. Yes, I know. Sounds like hello, we already know this. But how many of us are holding the breath when we get stressed?
Mhm.
So you breathe in deep and then slow, because that shows the brain that you're not running, you're not hyperventilating. You're like, I'm cool, I'm just relaxing. So you breathe in, breathe out slowly. Then also touch your body. Okay, yeah. Another one is like, what do you mean touch my body? Okay, like toddlers, when they get upset, they always run for the hug, right? Because our brain loves the physical touch. So what did I mean by touching your body. You can massage your neck, or you just can massage your hands, or just, just stroke your thighs, whatever you situate. You could be in the middle of a meeting, and let's say that you need to give presentation, and you're stressing out. You're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm gonna mess this up. Just sit and just, you have your hands under the desk, and then you just massage your fingers. But because you are touching your body, the brain already relaxes. Also, because you are giving this to yourself, that moment, you are there for yourself. So you're giving that self-love, self-care. And then also, the thoughts is such a thing that always run wild, like a train. Like it starts very slowly, but then the more you think about that negative thought or that fearful thought, it just picks up in such a speed that later on is very hard to stop it. So then when you get in that situation, you're breathing, you're massaging your fingers, let's say, and then you think in your mind something repetitive that inspires you. You can say, I'm calm, I'm collected, I'll be fine, I'm good. You just keep on saying until you calm yourself. And then in the 10, 15, or whatever minutes, anyone has, that they have different intervals, then you can think clearly what's actually happened and then make that decision. Okay, so that's the C, control. A is appreciation. And I know everyone says gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Yes, just assess the situation and say, okay, what am I happy about? Even things that don't happen to us, somehow serving us anyway, because everything is serving us. Still, L, limits. Limit your time on the project that don't work. Limit people that sucks your energy out, which we already talked about that. And M is for multiply. Multiply what works. And like we already talked about it, you have amazing people in your life, you'll multiply. So within workplace environment is like you cannot control your coworkers, control yourself. Appreciate where you work, and there's always something good in any situation.
Yep.
Then you limit the project. You say no to people. Like especially in the work environment, you always find people who tells you, "Hey, I cannot do this. Can you do this for me?" And if you're a people pleaser, you're like, "Oh my gosh, I have so much work, but I'm so afraid to say no." So start implementing boundaries. Start saying no to few things, and then you gain your confidence, and you see actually nobody died if you said no. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and then multiply what works. Start new things. Take more breaks. They don't have to be that long, but doing few things every day and making it a habit can go a long way, and it definitely will change how you respond to stress, and then it will be impact towards your whole life and your health as well.
I love those. Oh my goodness. Is there anything else that you would like my listeners to know?
So I have quite well two books that are directed to the stress management. So, for example, since
Okay.
we already just talked about
Yes.
workplace, I have a book. It's of course all of them are available on Amazon. It's called "Crush Stress While You Work." Um, it's just basically tips and tricks what you can do in your work environment. And the recent one is called the Stress Management for Adult Children of Alcoholics. And for those
Ooh.
who thinking, oh, I never had an alcoholic in the family. It's just basically for those who grew up with some childhood trauma. And I go in every chapter, I talk about specific thing. For example, like fear of abandonment, or fear of intimate relationships, or perfectionism, about things like that. Then I give specific exercises that can help you with this. And I always end one chapter with a superpower, because I think even if, let's say, somebody says, "Oh, this is such a bad," like for example, immediate gratification could be a very bad thing, right? People say, "Oh, you have to wait on things." If you came up with a childhood trauma where you are not getting what you need at that moment, you will be very afraid to wait for later, because there's later will never happen. So you always fast. You want the things get fast. And you know why is the superpower? Because you get shit done. Okay?
Amen to
Other
that.
people just sit and they think and they ask and they ruminate like, I have no time. That's why I get a lot of things done. And I also do one-on-one coaching. And I also have an online membership what helps with that if you don't want to do one-on-one coaching. And all of this, you're welcome to go and find it on my website, beamazingyou.com.
I love that. And I love that the book has some exercises as well. Cause it's like sometimes we retain the information, but like if we do some exercises, we might be able to like actually keep it.
Eh,
Oh, yeah.
and you know what? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you know,
No,
I
you're
just thought
fine.
if you think that your listeners can that can help them, and I really want to spread the word and say, look, there's nothing wrong with you, and no matter what childhood you have, and you always have um opportunity to grow into something bigger if you want to. And I want to inspire someone to change and help themselves. So you know, if you that will be okay, I can give this book for free to download anyone who wants it as a PDF, and I can give you a link where they can go and get it if you're okay with that.
Yeah, of course. I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank
So
you.
I will make sure that I'll have it in the description of the episode, or they can email you.
There's a you can just put it in the description, and that's the link how they can it leads them to how they get that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So this year I started asking, what are you grateful for?
I am grateful to being able to talk with people like you and spreading my word because there's so many they were afraid to do those things that had to do with mental state, with their childhood traumas. And I think pandemic really brought this through because
Hmm.
when I will go to companies and I do lunch and learns, I talk in the companies how to manage stress and burnout in the workplace. I will start talking to them, say, mental health is very important. And they will say, no, we already had somebody talk about sleep and nutrition. We don't need stress management. And after pandemic, that was really we all realized that mental state is the number one thing because everything lives in your head. That's how you're going to live your life. So now I am grateful for such a bad thing that you can say pandemic actually turned out to be a good thing for awareness. And now we are not afraid to say, I'm afraid or I have a childhood trauma. And this is services all of us to honoring ourselves and our own feelings so then we don't feel lonely and then we can say you know what I'm not that weird like so and so they had similar life and when we together because we are the mammals we need to be in the group. That's what our power and strength comes from, and then we can have this more empathy towards others. I think that how will be the world a better place.
I love that. Yeah, and mental health, it is important. That's why I have this podcast to share the tools and resources and bring amazing people like you on a mission to help others to give them hope that there is a different way, you know? It's all about different coping mechanisms and that self-awareness and self-love because it definitely changed my life 3 years ago when I started loving myself.
Thank you for having enough courage to show yourself to others and inspire them.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Truly love the, that I told you the last interview was like a little bit down, but I'm like, yes, you brought it back up. So thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you so much for inviting.
I will have her links in the description of the episode. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Life with Francie podcast. You can find it in all major podcast platforms as well as my YouTube channel. You know the drill. Like and subscribe. Help this girl out. Anyways, hope you have a blessed day. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. You too.
You're
Bye.
welcome.